The Jedi and the Sith get all the attention in Star Wars as the primary Force users of the galaxy. Sure, occasionally another group like the Night Sisters of Dathomir will get the spotlight, but the High Republic comics have recently introduced the Convocation of the Force on Jedha. That group was made up of members of various Force religions who gathered to share their unique insights and understanding of the Force with one another. The Jedi were, of course, members. Some of the groups are brand new, and some of them are delightfully obscure pulls from Star Wars legends, and today, I'm covering all of them. Like I mentioned, we have the Jedi, but you know who they are. And if you don't, how did you find this video, and do you need help getting out of some sort of weird YouTube rabbit hole? Go watch Star Wars. The leader of the Convocation, or the chair, was Keelan Tadara from the Church of the Force. That's one of the more recognizable Force-associated groups within Star Wars, first introduced in The Force Awakens. Lor San Tekka was a member, as were many in the San Tekka clan. The Church was made up of people who were not Force-sensitive, but still believed in it and chose to follow teachings similar to that of the Jedi Order. The Disciples of the Wills and the Guardians of the Wills were both also members. Both groups were related, although they differed in their practice. The Disciples attempted to listen to and understand the will of the Force, while the Guardians worked to feel the Force more actively. Neither group could control the Force like a Jedi. Both organizations were based out of the Temple of the Kyber. Okay, I know I promised some actual Force users, and now we're getting to them. The Sorcerers of Tund were represented in the Convocation by Tarna Miak. They are an interesting inclusion because they were largely associated with the dark side of the Force. That was how they were introduced in Star Wars Legends all the way back in 1983, where the sorcerer Rokur Gepta served as the primary villain for the Lando Calrissian Adventures series of novels. They were adept in shapeshifting and illusions and wielded the Force more like magic, kinda like the Night Sisters. You know, like a sorcerer would. Tarna seemed especially talented at manipulating fire-like spells, but the Jedi Master Vildar Mak encountered a sorcerer who could seemingly drain the life from people, so there were several powers at their disposal. Next up, we have the Matakai, who were represented on the Convocation by a Keldor named Warren Val. Not much is known about them in canon yet, but thankfully, they're another group taken from Star Wars Legends. Founded around 4,000 years before the events of the films, they were known to channel the Force physically through their bodies, specifically through martial arts. They sought balance between the spiritual and the physical through exercise in place of meditation. They wielded large axe-like weapons called Wan Shin, and Warren Val of the Convocation can be seen carrying one very similar to what was seen in Legends. The Falinasi were a group represented by Serene, a human woman. In fact, according to Star Wars Legends, the Falinasi were nearly all women, similar to the Witches of Dathomir. They specialized in creating illusions, like the Force projection seen in The Last Jedi, but they could also use the Force to make themselves completely undetectable. They viewed the Force as a sea, referring to the light side as the white current and the dark as the dark tide. They first appeared in 1997 in the Black Fleet Crisis trilogy. In that story, Luke Skywalker incorrectly believed his mother may have once been a member of their order. Moving on to the Lonto, they are a brand new addition to Star Wars in the High Republic comics. Represented in the Convocation by a woman named Susili, they appeared to use the Force to control and interact with plant life. She was seen using vines to stop an argument from turning violent during a Convocation gathering. Later, when Vildar Mak had been injured in a bombing, she used Tragia leaves to heal his wounds. Next, let's talk about two Force sects that were not members of the Convocation. A group called the Yacombe applied for membership, but their prior history with the dark side is what nearly sparked violence in the Convocation chambers. Susili claimed the Yacombe had renounced the dark side and strove to be neutral in their use of the Force. The other members were not so sure. The experience caused the Yacombe envoy to retract their request to join. We don't know much else about them, except that they did not speak except through proxies, and they certainly did have an association with the dark side at one point in history, because as Padawans, Sifo-Dyas and Count Dooku found Yacombe artifacts in the dark side collection that was hidden within the Jedi archives. And finally, we're going to cover the Brothers of the Ninth Door. They were definitely dark side users who were known for wearing skull masks, and that's all we really know about them. They were no fans of the Convocation and secretly worked to undermine them, orchestrating the Battle of Jedha with a Force cult called the Path of the Open Hand. And that's every Force organization we're covering today, every member of the Convocation of the Force, and two groups that were excluded. Making this video made me want to cover every known Force organization, so keep an eye out for that video in the future. But for now, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.